After the potential health hazards are identified and evaluated, the appropriate control technique must be developed and installed. This requires the applications of appropriate technology for reducing workplace exposure. So in this video, we are going to cover about the preventions or the control technique, the PPE to be used, and also we are going to talk very specific about lab inspections and audit. The type of control technique that used in the chemical industries are shown in the next few slides. They include but not limited to first inherent safety, such as to eliminate the chemicals, those hazardous chemicals completely, or to reduce it or to replace, or to reduce the operating temperatures and pressures, etc. Or the other control method is by enclosures, by placing certain equipments under negative pressure. The other good control is by through ventilations of the environment, and there are two types. One is local ventilations. The use of fume hood, for example, is a local ventilations, or we call it, or another method is dilutions ventilations, to design ventilation system to control low-level toxin. And another method is what we call a wet method. That is mainly to use to minimize contaminations with dust. Of course, a good housekeeping is another control method to reduce and keep toxicants and dust contained. And of course, the last lines of defense is the use of personal protections equipment, the PPEs. Designing control method is an important and creative task. During the design process, the designer must pay particular attention to ensure that the newly designed control techniques provide the desired control, and the new control technique itself does not create another hazard, or sometimes even more hazardous than the original problem. So there are two major control techniques there, which are environmental control or the personal protections control. Environmental control reduces the exposures by reducing the concentrations of toxicants in the workplace environment. This includes what we mentioned earlier, such as enclosure, local ventilations, dilution ventilations, wet methods, and good housekeeping. Another method is personal protections, is to prevent or reduce exposure by providing a barrier between the worker and the workplace environment. The barrier is usually worn by the worker, hence we call it personal. And typical types of PPEs are listed in the next few slides. This slide shows us a general PPE and their designs icons. So when you see this, you know that in this area you have to wear this PPE. So far we have talked about industrial hygiene in terms of identifications of hazards, and also evaluations of hazards, and also the control methods. So to conclude all this, we're going to go into a special chapters talk about lab inspections itself. The following example is a good example to be made as a survey of a lab that has certain chemicals that listed as below. That we have sodium chloride, with taurine, we have HCl, phenol, etc. So for us to list the potential hazard in this lab. And with all the data given that we can refer to SDS, or we can refer to the other safety identifications method. So we literally, or basically we can put out these solutions in the form of table to describe the potential hazards of this chemical. There are three types of good labs practice, or we call GLP inspections. One is implementations inspections, and second is compliance monitoring inspections, and the third one is cost inspections. So all these inspections includes or are used for identifying, assessing and control hazards, and also to make sure the level of compliance with safe work systems and procedures, and also to implement changes to the work environments and practices to reduce risk. At the same time, to allow students and staff to participate directly in the management of safety in their workplace. So the next few slides list out the general lab inspections guidelines from the general and administrations, the safety equipments, the ventilations, fire protections, etc., to the laboratory operational safety such as the layout and design, the housekeeping and maintenance, and also electrical safety. And of course, other things like the substance, the hazardous substance, the labeling process, the storage, and etc. So you can take a look at this example lab inspection report that is being posted up here. With that, we concluded the chapter 3 on the topics of industrial hygiene. Next week, we are going to go into details about the relief system and the designs of relief systems, and also the designs of relief valve. And I'll see you next week.